Heute haben wir einen wahren Bitcoin-OG zu Gast. Er hat seinen ersten Bitcoin bereits vor über 10 Jahren gekauft. Aber nicht nur das, er ist auch einer der besten technischen Analysten und gemeinsam mit Josh mache ich heute einen Deep Dive in die Charts. Wir schauen uns an, wo steht der Bitcoin-Zyklus? Ist der Top vielleicht schon drin oder werden wir dieses Jahr noch höhere Kurse sehen? Aber nicht nur das, wir gehen auf chinesische Aktien ein, wir gehen auf Rohstoffe ein. Auf einen ist er besonders bullish und hat sogar diese Woche nachgekauft und wir werfen sogar einen Blick auf den DAX. Was sagt der Amerikaner zu deutschen Aktien? Bullish oder bearish. Ich freue mich ganz besonders, Josh heute hier zu Gast zu haben. Er ist wirklich einer der OGs im Space, ist sich über all die Jahre auch immer treu geblieben, hat nie irgendwelche Scams promotet, sondern immer stets klare und fundierte Analysen abgeliefert. Deswegen genug der Einleitung. Wir gehen in die Charts. Viel Spaß mit dieser Episode. Josh, it's a huge honor to have you on. As I just mentioned in the intro, I'm actually following now for close to a decade. I think 2016 or 17 was the first time I came across you on Twitter. You are right now in Philadelphia. Huge honor to have you on. How are you, man?
Good, great to be here. It's funny looking back on 2016 to now, and where digital assets are, where crypto is, where everything like has exploded twice, has run up 3 times. It's just it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I mean, it has been a wild ride, especially if you got into crypto before 2017. And it's crazy to think about it. It feels such a long time ago, but time went so quickly. And you have been doing content nonstop about Bitcoin, about crypto. But what are you currently up to? I think you just mentioned you're actually head of trading in a firm in the US. But give us some context.
Sure, yeah. I started doing content in 2016 because I just felt like there was nobody out there at the time talking about crypto stuff. So that's really why I started. I didn't know anything, when I started either. I also started poor. So, people wonder like, why the hell is this guy still here? He's, it's one thing if you come in crypto a decade ago with money. I certainly did not. So I very much, started from the bottom, now we here type thing. But so currently I'm head of trading at Canary Capital. We're a digital asset manager. We have a hedge fund. We have several private trusts, and we also have several pending ETF applications in the US. So even if you're non-US, I think eventually maybe you should have access to some of that. I'm not quite sure what the rules are in Euroland, but so yeah, that's my day to day. And then, like you mentioned, I still do content just for myself. It really acts as a trading journal. It helps me go through the motions to look at everything outside of not just our own investable universe in the fund, in the hedge fund side, but also just get an understanding of macro stuff, which I didn't know anything about. My background before this is medicine and biology. So I don't have this foundation in economics or anything. So, macro stuff, what's the world doing? What is the S&P doing? How does that affect crypto? Something like, we'll talk about it later, but small cap ETF IWM relative to Ethereum, why is that correlated? It's like a 1-to-1 correlation. It's wild. So seeing some of the stuff that's outside of crypto helps you, I think, understand a lot more about what's going on inside of crypto.
Yeah, definitely. And I can just highly recommend your YouTube channel, also your Twitter or X profile these days. You do a lot of content there. I think you do like 3 to 4 videos a week, and all of them are, really high quality. So really enjoy watching them, and we definitely gonna talk about macro and also about the current crypto Bitcoin cycle. Is the top already in, or do we have another run this year? Most likely. But before we do that, I always like to start with a quick rapid fire to get to know you better, and also for the listeners, most of them probably see you or hear you today for their first time. So let's do a quick rapid fire, 10 questions, and afterwards we talk macro. When was the first time? Which year? When did you buy your first Bitcoin?
2013.
2013. You're a real OG, one of the legends.
I wish it was a cool story. Like, I know this is the lightning round, but I wish it was a cool story. It was like I was on Silk Road. It's none of that stuff. Just I heard about it on Reddit. I thought it was interesting. I thought the tech was super cool. Honestly, and then the price ran up. So here we are.
Yeah, I mean, and it's awesome that you are still around and still doing content. So highly appreciate that. What was the first altcoin you ever bought?
Litecoin.
Litecoin. Do you still hold it?
No. That was also 2014. For some reason, one of the friends at the time who I got into crypto with, super into Litecoin. He was like a silver bug. Still is a silver bug.
Yeah.
I don't know why. There's that correlation with the silver people, but.
Yeah. I mean, it was always, hey, Litecoin is a silver to, like silver is to gold, Litecoin to Bitcoin. Obviously, didn't work out too well for Litecoin. But what was the most ridiculous altcoin you ever bought? Because Litecoin is still one of the serious ones. But I imagine you bought some ridiculous ones along the way.
I mean, this cycle, MOG, for sure, is probably the most ridiculous. MOG.
Yeah, I know it. One of the meme coins. Yeah. Do you still have a MOG back? Or was it just a quick trade?
It's a quick in and out.
Yeah.
Cloud setup.
Yeah.
Execution. Yeah.
Makes sense. What do you think about the current cycle? Do we get another all-time high in Bitcoin this year?
I think we do get another all-time high, but it's not going to be in September, most likely. If we look at the seasonality for September for BTC, it's really negative. Even for just legacy markets as a whole, seasonality is negative. And that just means, on balance, what to expect? Probably nothing. Probably chop, probably down. Obviously, Ethereum is going through a bit of a renaissance right now. There's reasons that the seasonality could break. We'll see it if we see it, but based on price action that we're seeing going into September, it doesn't look too great to me for BTC. So, but I do think we have a little bit in the cycle left. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're still a believer in the 4-year cycle?
For the moment, I don't think you can say with confidence that it's over until we actually see that evidence for that. But based on what we've seen thus far is 4-year cycles. So I think it's perfectly reasonable to continue to expect that. And much like seasonality, that's a seasonality in its own, right? The 4-year economic cycle. Even with Trump and the midterms and global debt, and even what you guys are doing in Germany with the defense budget, right? Yeah. Everybody's just going crazy spending.
Yes.
So if there's anything that's going to negate a 4-year cycle, it's going to be stuff like that, where the Fed is bringing rates down. The world just keeps spending. Maybe Trump is sending out stimmies. Maybe other countries are sending out stimulus in some other fashion, right? That could keep this party going, absolutely. But for the moment, the expectation is 2026. Be careful.
Definitely agree on that. What's your cycle target for Ethereum? You have one, or just like take a swing at it?
Yeah, I think between 7,000 and 10,000 USD.
Yeah,
can I ask you? What do you guys trade on the crypto side? The pair? Do you focus on the USD pair or no?
Mostly on the Bitcoin pairs. Obviously,
okay.
That's
so you don't have like a Euro, German, Bund, whatever pair. I don't know.
Yeah, but so we for mostly obviously dollar. There are Euro pairs, but also in Germany you trade mostly the USD pairs, as there's more liquidity. Simple as that.
Gotcha.
So most also cycle targets are more about dollars than euros. Yeah. So no flippening. You still expect higher Ethereum prices, but no flippening, because I recently did a video. There was a lot of talk about Joe Lubin came out, Tom Lee, hey, Ethereum is going to flip Bitcoin. Once again, I thought I never would hear that story again, but here we are. But you think Ethereum has room to run, but no flippening.
Yeah, if you or I had a Ethereum asset treasury company, then I would... What else are you going to say, right? Like, you have to say that this thing's going to continue to do well.
Yes.
I don't see it this cycle. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. There's a lot of people who expect price to appreciate based on activity on the chain. That historically hasn't necessarily been the case.
Yep.
So, it's separated, it's decoupled. The value accrual piece is not the same as the activity piece. And for Ethereum, it's challenging too because it's got all these L2s that sees way more activity. Arbitrum being the primary example. So it's kind of like a parasite for the ETH token price. It's just activity going elsewhere.
Yep.
People buying another token. It's just competition for ETH.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. So you're trading mostly crypto, still focused on crypto, but obviously you watch a lot of other asset classes. Are there also asset classes where you actively invest in besides stocks? Do you buy gold? Do you buy any other commodities? What's like your day-to-day trading?
Yeah, I think for anybody as they get wealthier, they expand, a little bit. They diversify a little bit. I've certainly done that over the years a little bit. Just this cycle, I started trading a lot more legacy stuff because even in 2015, when one broker was still a thing, for the people who know what that is, it was a CFD exchange, but what people tended to notice is like, hey, just because nothing's going on in crypto doesn't mean there's other stuff that you can be trading. So why are you forcing yourself to trade where there isn't a trade to be had, right? So giving yourself that opportunity and optionality elsewhere versus like banging your head against the wall saying, oh man, this thing isn't working out right now, but I'm going to try to force blood from a stone or whatever, right? It doesn't make sense. So like BTC now, my whole thing is there's trades elsewhere. Like you don't have to force a trade here on BTC up or down. I think it's just easier to trade other stuff right now.
100%. So one asset you recently bought can be any stock, commodity, whatever it is.
Just today, I added to my gold position. So GLD, which is an ETF, but KWEB is another one I bought recently. It's a Chinese internet ETF. Yes. The China stocks look really good here.
We definitely have to look at the gold chart and also on Chinese stocks. I'm bullish on both as well. And so definitely gonna do that later. One asset you recently sold?
Today, I sold XLU, which is a utility ETF. That had been running up a lot in correlation with this AI data center narrative in the US.
Yes.
I still think utilities are going to be great, but I just didn't like the trailing stop loss level that got breached. I used Williams fractals, which is like a technical term for pointing out higher highs and lower lows. And then when you breach that, that's my trailing stop loss level. So we breached that today, and we can look at that as well later.
Yeah, let's do that. But before we go into the charts, let's talk macro first. So most likely it looks like we're going to see some rate cuts in September. You just mentioned historically September isn't the best month for crypto, isn't the best month for stocks. So right now I have the feeling everybody expect either a correction or at least a slowdown in September, which gets me thinking if everyone expect actually a correction into September, maybe it's something else. Because right now I think if you do a survey on X and asks, hey, where's the cycle top? Probably everyone gonna tell you it's somewhere between October and December. Do you see a chance that we actually get a move into September that's gonna catch a lot of people off guard?
Yeah, I think there's two big things to watch for on BTC specifically. If we can hold a daily close above 118,000 in September, then seasonality is probably out the window, which bearish seasonality is probably out the window. If come October, early October, we cannot hold a low in early October, then bullish seasonality may be out the window. So Those are the two big things that I'd watch for BTC. Gold, like we'll get to chart-wise in a second, gold looks excellent here on technicals. And if gold is running up, BTC most likely is not running up at the same time.
Yep.
So if I had to craft like a perfect picture of expectations, it would be gold has a bullish continuation move here. And then we see some transition period into BTC. ETH, go ahead.
No, go. You wanted to talk about ETH?
Yeah, I was just going to say ETH and alts broadly could run on their own here independently. It's not unreasonable to expect that, especially again if we take the parallels to NASDAQ, QQQ, and IWM zombie cap garbage companies, right? Like,
Yeah.
these companies probably have no reason to exist, but from a relative value perspective, they are gaining on the Mag 7, the best companies in the history of the world, right? And it has nothing to do with the quality of the business. It has everything to do with the fact that the Mag 7 has just run up so much already. It's just easier to rotate elsewhere. So I think we're going to see potentially some of that in crypto as well.
Do you have an opinion on the bigger cycles? Because if you think about the rotation that's going on in the legacy markets, you see Russell outperforming, small cap stocks are on fire lately. That's usually a late cycle thing. That's the final capital rotation. Okay, where else can we go? Let's pump small caps, and afterwards it's over. Doesn't mean the big cycle is over. Maybe it's just an intermediate top. We see some form of correction, and the cycle continues. But you have an opinion on the bigger cycle? Do you see like a major top maybe forming in the stock markets sometime in the next 3 to 6 months, and we're actually really in the final stage? Also, if you think about the classical Bitcoin altcoin rotation, Ethereum is gonna pump, then we see the rotation through the other L2s, and finally like in the meme coins and so on, and then cycle is over. Dogecoin is the last to pump, and maybe we even get, it would be so perfect if the Dogecoin ETF is actually approved and then cycle is over.
Yeah, just because I'm on the ETF side, I can't comment on any of them individually, but I can tell you collectively, there's a good chance that we get a bunch of ETFs also approved for altcoins in Q4. So that's also something to think about. As far as the broader cycle, absolutely. People rotate from the perceived less risky to more risky because people feel like there's more money to be made, right? You could say the same thing for like AI stocks and quantum computing and the more meme stuff, the Rocket Labs and stuff like that. So yeah, we're seeing that. Absolutely. We're seeing that right now.
Is that the case? Actually, that's really like the final leg. Maybe we don't even got 6 more months. Maybe it's really like one final push over the next couple of weeks, maybe into September. Maybe we go into October, November, and that's it. Or is it not like a framework you think and you at the end of the day you look at the charts and hey, we have to reassess once we get to October, November. Let's see what the price action tells us, and then we can discuss if that's a cycle top or if we continue.
Yeah, so I think we have a rough roadmap based on what we've seen historically. But at the same time, for me, technicals are the top of the stack. So if BTC looked better here, I'd say great. If BTC looked like gold does here, party on, right? What's September seasonality? But that's not what we're seeing. That's not what we're seeing. And even ETH is fairly overbought here. That doesn't mean it has to roll over. I think chop sideways for ETH makes sense. I think some down for BTC makes sense. And then we'll see what happens in October. But, you can have these guidelines as far as what you expect to happen. But you also need a non-random systematic way of saying, okay, like this is really what's going on, right? For me, it's technicals. For some people, it's other stuff. But I think technicals really, just like in 2022, everybody thought recession is here, it's over. Then we get the AI miracle stuff, and the technicals were already rolling up. They had been curling up for a while, and then we get this catalyst, and meanwhile everyone's saying, oh, everything's overvalued. This was in 22, 23, and now we're still hearing that in 25 going to 26.
Yeah.
So this stuff can keep going way longer than people think about,
I guess that's the perfect introduction to take a look at the charts. Where do you think we should start? Should we actually start with S&P 500? Should we go straight to gold? Would love to take a look at bonds, something you regularly talk about in your shows as well.
Can we look at what is your S&P 500 equivalent in Germany?
It's the DAX. Have you ever looked at it?
I have not. Frequently.
It has been in a crazy bull run as well. You wouldn't think if you look at the fundamentals in Germany, they're actually pretty bleak. But the DAX has been performing.
Is it XETR? Is that the
DAX.
exchange? So this is the US version of the DAX, which is slightly different than the German version. I think this is
that's the right one.
The correct air quotes version. So across the board, it worries me that we bounced a lot, and there's this risk now that we could mean revert lower.
Yep.
And not even knowing what this is, it wouldn't matter to me. It's just that's where we're at on SMH, which is the semiconductor ETF,
Yep.
on the Qs, on the S&P. Everything is sort of looks like this. It's like, okay, is this a head and shoulders up here? Is this a going to break a support at 23,300, whatever?
Yeah, it definitely looks like
to,
it wants to roll over, but it's still too early to tell. But I wouldn't be a buyer up there.
Yeah, so my initial assessment would be, this is up a lot in a short period of time. Doesn't mean it can't keep going, but all I see here is the potential for a head and shoulders, which is the bearish reversal chart pattern. The level to pay attention to would be on this ETF 43.
Yeah.
Any lower low past the August July low, and I'd be concerned for additional downside. If we don't get
Germany
that,
is cooked.
But the U.S. indices are the same. So the expected move based on what we've seen historically for patterns that look like this is a bearish reversal. So you could take the fibs, which pretty standard, I think, charting software for anybody. 1618 is a fib. 2 is not a fib. It's just the measured move of the depth of the pattern, and that gives you this level, this zone where things could potentially go.
Yep.
So that's what percentage is that? 6 to 10. That's not a lot, but it's not
even
up,
that bad.
Yeah. So we're not talking anything crazy here.
Yep.
So definitely be careful of that on your stuff. And it's the same across the board. All these markets have traded very similarly.
Yep.
So we can pull up the SPY.
Actually, it had a decent day today. Markets were friendly across the board. NVIDIA earnings tomorrow. Let's see how those goes. I think that would be a big influence on the markets, at least short term.
Yeah, no, I agree. Absolutely. It just visually, like we're talking about rate of change. The rate of change since April has been dramatic, right? Not parabolic, but it's been pretty dramatic. That, again, isn't bearish outright. It's just saying, okay, just the basic expectations here. Maybe be careful, because if we do start to give some back, it could get pretty violent pretty quick. And I'm not one of these like doomer people who's like, every time we go up, everything's bearish. It's just if we're measuring an inverse version of the chart we just looked at, the inverted head and shoulders, that's the measurement. This is the target. So we're pretty close to where you'd expect people to start to take profit, people to start to take some off the table.
What do you think about the Russell? Let's look at the IWM, because that one still looks like it wants to go higher.
Yeah, it does. And again, it's the same idea. Inverted head and shoulders breakout here in June. I traded this briefly until I just pop on these fractals here. Again, it's just a trailing stop loss system, but I hopped out in the end of July because we broke a lower low on the fractals there. One way to get back in with this system is just to wait for the higher high fractal. So theoretically, I could have gotten back in it on the 12th, but I didn't. I was trading ETH instead. So yeah, no, this looks good. It still has room to run just based on the pattern. And on a relative value basis, it's also done quite well relative to tech lately.
You then trade mostly the ETF, or you look at certain stocks in the small cap area and actually looks for setup there, or do you keep it simple and just trade the sector ETF?
I don't dig too deep into the small caps. So besides the videos I do 4 times a week, I also do a stream once a week where I just talk to people about what they're trading.
Yeah.
And I always ask people, for charts, for ideas. So in that session, it gives me a lot of ammo to go in places I would never go in looking for stuff.
Yep.
Lately, it's been commodities. REMX is a rare earth ETF that I never would have thought about.
Yep.
That chart's done really well. I'm up 30% on that position. But so that's as far as I go. I don't dig too deeply into the Russell 2000.
Yeah.
Altcoins, different story.
Makes sense. Just also want to talk about a few charting stock setups you currently like, but let's take a look at bonds. Is maybe TLT or some of the other big US bond ETFs?
Yeah, sure. Do you guys like trading TLT over there?
Not really. We are mostly making the case. The 60/40 portfolio is that, and you shouldn't waste too much time thinking about bonds. Even so, for maybe a short-term trade that starts to look interesting, but still, at the end of the day, I think stuff like gold is gonna keep outperforming TLT. So no reason to think too much about it, except if obviously we see a breakdown in TLT or anything like that. That's probably not good for the financial system in general or for the stability of the system. That's why I'm mostly thinking about bonds out of that lens.
Yeah, so on the long end, I absolutely agree with you. These look atrocious. Expectations for issuance is atrocious. Expectations for demand is atrocious. Why would you expect these to do well? It doesn't make any sense to me. Now, TA could trump that, right? But TA is also on your side saying we're making lower lows continuously. We haven't made a higher high since September 2024, and that was brief. It got smacked down. This is not, this could be the stone cold low today, but it's also not someplace I would ever touch from a entry perspective. It just looks awful. It just looks really, really bad. Now, if we contrast that with SHY, which is the 1 to 3 year US Treasury ETF, this I actually bought some this week. It is consolidating. It is holding levels. It has been basing since 2022. It is making higher highs. This is what you want to see out of TLT from a technical perspective. You're not seeing that, so why bother, right? Like there's lots of things you could do with your money, and I don't see why you'd want to sit in TLT to any degree.
Yeah, definitely. And for the viewers out there, just to give them an understanding, that just proved the point that the Fed is mostly controlling the short end of the curve, but not the long end. And TLT, there's 20, 30 year plus duration in there, while here is 1 to 3 years. And probably if it keeps going up, that's gonna tell us there are more rate cuts coming, and therefore it's maybe an interesting place to at least park some capital short term in those short term treasury ETFs. Same in Europe. Do you have an opinion on the dollar right now? I mean, it keeps rolling over. It keeps looking weak, even though you're a guy who also looks at COD data, and we saw some, it's a historic high short positioning. Tough word for German in the dollar, but we don't see any counter trend rallies, at least none that are sticking. What's your outlook, at least for the rest of the year, for the dollar? Does it keep going lower?
Yeah, I'll just back up and say one way to think about trading too is like, okay, I have this hypothesis. I want to express this idea based on XYZ information. What does the lay of the land look like? How can I express that idea, right? Like, what are the instruments available? And then to me, the overlay is, of course, technicals too. Like, it has to look good on technicals. So not only does this look good on technicals, but it also sort of lines up with rate expectations, as you say, with the shorter end rather than the longer end. DXY, let's actually just pull it up. I have it here. DXY, which is the US dollar index. It hasn't made lower lows significantly lately. We haven't talked about the cloud yet, but
let's talk about the cloud.
Sure. So here's what you need to know about the cloud. It's a system of dynamic support and resistance. Good things happen above the cloud. Bad things happen below, aka bullish above, bearish below. Besides the cloud, besides those colored blobs you're looking at, there's also essentially a moving average system. The red and the blue, the Tenkin and the Kijun, which I always butcher the pronunciation, the TK lines. It's basically a series of checks and balances. So if you're bullish, you want a bullish MA cross on the TK lines. You want a bullish cloud. You want price above cloud. If you're bearish, you want a bearish TK cross, price below cloud, bearish cloud. So when you've got a mix of signals here, this tends to hint at a transition period, a neutrality period over a continuation period.
Yep.
So that's the clouds read here. This could be a reversal. It is neutral. It's not really a setup worth trading. Now, if we contrast that with like what happened, not just because we're looking at it, because it's history, but the breakouts here above or below the cloud, that's always what I'm hunting for on a setup perspective. You want to see this before it happens so that you can take action as it happens. But ever since we broke down below the cloud here in March 2025, we've failed to break back above the cloud. So that's really helped risk assets move higher.
And it also helped gold to move higher, obviously. And if we are bullish on gold, obviously the correlation doesn't work as good as it used to be. So maybe dollar and gold can move up together. But historically, at least, usually if dollar went up, gold went down and vice versa. Also euro, obviously the main counterpart of the dollar, still looks somewhat bullish, but at least is still above the cloud. So good things happening above the cloud. And also perfect example where you see the breakout about the red cloud, and it was also a good signal to actually go along the euro against the dollar.
Yeah, so it's tough because people, they tend to want to trade something every day and like look for something all the time, when the reality is most of what I do is just waiting and finding stuff to happen. It's not like, oh, let's do this, let's do that. It's just waiting until your system tells you it's go time. It's not like, oh, let's bet on the euro today because I want to, right? Like it has nothing to do with that. So, in gold, I think this is like the best looking chart in the market. I'm not even a gold bug. Okay. I'm not that type of person who's always looking to be low in gold. It's just the technicals look phenomenal. And it's based on everyone being a cloud expert now. We're above the cloud. We have a bullish TK cross. This is a TK crisscross recross, which is a turbo bullish signal.
Yep.
And on top of that, you've got a chart pattern here, ascending triangle.
Yep.
And or pennant. All this stuff just looks extremely bullish to me.
What would be your target once we actually break out to the upside?
Yeah, so on GLD, just measuring the depth of the pattern, 330, 340, which admittedly isn't a crazy move for gold. 5 to 8% from here. Nothing says it can't keep going, and it certainly, we can test this just on the recent stuff. The previous consolidation breakout, 273 to 280 was the expected move. It went way past that. And even if we go on like the weekly, and we just look at this down here, which was a huge inverted head and shoulders multi-year consolidation, this thing back here.
Yeah.
That measured move on GLD was only 227 to 250, and it went way past that. It consolidated at some of those levels for a period of time, but
that was a beautiful consolidation down there. And the bigger the base, the higher in space.
Exactly. And again, like if you're a gold bug looking to trade gold every day, or if you trade oil or some other commodity, it's like for a long time, there really wasn't a trade here, at least to me as a momentum breakout guy. So you just don't do it, right? You trade something else and you set some alerts, and you know exactly what you're looking for. And when it happens, you're ready to go. But until that day, then you just do something else. And that's where we're at with BTC here as well.
What actually is your, so for all that don't know, GLD is like the biggest gold ETF in the world, and mostly traded in the US, but it basically is gold. But what would be your invalidation for your current also let's go quickly back to gold, please. Just your invalidation for the trade. So you just mentioned, I think you bought more GLD today. What is your invalidation for the trade? Where would you get out if the trade doesn't work out as expected?
Yeah, so this is a good transition for BTC because unlike BTC, gold is currently above the cloud, holding above the cloud, has roughly held above the cloud, most of the time here. Whereas BTC is closing in the cloud, which is another reason why I closed out of that trade. I've really been out of BTC in a big way since the beginning of this month for the same reasons that I talked about with XLU with the trailing stop losses on the Williams fractals, which we can look at. But so the invalidation here is just simple. It's always simple. You never want to make lower lows. Yep. So in this case, it's 305. Anything below 305 on a daily close would be an invalidation at this point. And another thing I'll say about chart patterns, specifically triangles, you don't want them to go all the way to the end. You don't want to. Let me just pull up an example because it's easier. So on the GLD case, it's got some room to run on that triangle.
Yeah.
If we go to XLE, which is an energy ETF, this is a great example of a beautiful pattern that went all the way to the tip of the triangle and didn't go anywhere.
Yep.
And you see this pretty frequently where triangles typically break when 3/4 complete or more. It's about at that point.
Yep.
And you can see here, even on XLE, like roughly it tried to break out at about 3/4 and it just got stuck. So that's another thing to watch for gold here. If it takes gold the rest of the year to do nothing, then that's a really bad sign. But as we stand here today, I think it's a great trade.
Before we go to Bitcoin, let's quickly look at silver and maybe gold miners. Because if you look for more juice, if you're disappointed, gold only a 7 to 8% move. If that happens, miners should go parabolic. So also silver, I think, has a lot of catch-up potential. But what's your current take on silver?
Silver's always been difficult because it's just so volatile up and down. I don't have a great read here other than it looks like it wants to go higher.
Yep.
I guess we could look at the silver gold ratio maybe and try to find something there, but I don't know. It just doesn't really look too inspiring to me.
Yep.
It just looks like noise. I don't see anything special about it. I don't know. It's done nothing for a long time, and it's obviously gaining lately.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't have a great read on silver.
Fair enough. It's gonna go higher, hopefully. If your gold read is right, I think we're gonna see $50 silver this year. But maybe what about GDX as a proxy for gold miners?
Sure. Gold miners.
It's going parabolic.
Gold miners. There's been a few of these charts. Schwab, the exchange, we'll take a look at that in a second, has a similar pattern. I'm big on patterns. I'm big on trend.
Yep.
It had this descending neckline, inverted head and shoulders thing. GDX did for a couple of years here. You can see that. And after the breakout, it's just been kind of lights out. One thing I'll say about these ETFs as well, individually, if you look at the components, this is WPM. This is a precious metal gold and silver miner.
Yep.
You might not love the ETF, but if you look in the holdings, there might be something you love a lot more.
Yep.
It could expose you to idiosyncratic risk or individual risk for the company. But this chart, had you been paying attention to it, to me, set up way cleaner than GDX did.
Yep.
So they're also a miner, just as one example.
Definitely. Where should we go next? Should we look at a few other stock examples? GDX chart reminds me of Rivian, one of the charts or one of the stocks you have been talking a lot about lately, and it's still grinding and chopping. But maybe eventually, if we see some form of melt up in small caps, even Rivian is gonna break out. It's still possible. Yeah, I would say it's not over yet.
No, so I agree. It's making higher lows, right? We'll take it. It's not quite making higher highs yet. I like ads at 15. I like ads at 16 as it starts to make higher highs. I love any chart that not just is going down, but has started to base.
Yeah.
Like we can take the TLT example on the other side of the coin where that thing looks like it's just going nowhere to me. Now you could argue Rivian's the same, but it is making higher lows. It's a hotter sector than long bonds, so it's got that going for it. And if we look at some of these others, Neo is another one. This thing, again, now that everybody's a cloud expert, Neo has been down only since 2021 and is finally breaking out of the cloud. It's breaking out of this channel.
So Chinese EV company for everyone who doesn't heard of Neo, and has been in a brutal downtrend for years now, but it's coming to life. So you got a position currently in Neo, or do you look for an entry there?
I don't have a position in Neo currently. I should. I just feel like I'm in Rivian so much. sector wise, I don't want to be too concentrated, but I'm also in Tesla a little bit. I can't stand Musk or the company, just for the record, but the technicals look really good.
Yeah, I think it's the best from a technical standpoint. I think it's the most bullish setup in the big cap tech stocks right now in the US. Maybe let's look quickly at Tesla and at maybe KWeb for China, and then we're gonna switch to Bitcoin.
Sure. One last thing I'll say about something like Neo. If we're looking at the euro and the dollar and saying, okay, this is where you want an entry, right? That's why I like this chart so much, because it's literally the breakout is here. It just happened the other day, right? And it's making a higher high. So
if you right now looking at Neo, and just quickly go back, please. If you don't have a position right now, what would be your system or your method to actually get an entry into Neo if you missed the initial move?
Yeah, I think one thing you can always do is just dollar cost average daily or weekly and say, okay, I like a little more, I like a little more, and you have some limit for yourself, and maybe the other 50% you just save for a down day, or you save for a breakout period, right? You set some rules, some ground rules. Because there's a lot of charts. REMX, we'll just pull up real quick. Same deal. This thing broke out and it's kind of just been up only for a long time, but it did give you a good pullback entry for a couple days, right?
Yeah.
So if you're confident on the breakout and you think there's still plenty of room to run and the risk reward is appropriate, you want to be adding on down days, right? That's what you want. You definitely want that.
Yeah.
So yeah, Tesla. Tesla,
it's breaking out.
It is similar to I don't know, I guess any chart pattern. Again, it's been a choppy mess. It's gone nowhere for a couple months. Broke out, gave it all back, broke up again. It's a new higher high. I don't know. I like it. I like the measured move here, just the depth of the pattern measured higher. I like it on a relative value basis compared to the rest of the Mag 7. The rest of the Mag 7 have done really, really well, whereas Tesla hasn't done anything. So just on a relative value basis, I like where this sits. And historically, it's also important to just take note, like, has this thing ever traded on technicals? And I think that answer is definitely yes. So that's going to be on an individual basis, but that's also important. If we're looking at something like Cocoa or something that's been ranging for 30 years, right? Like, maybe we take those breakouts a little less seriously, but something has breakout potential and momentum historically, like crypto, Bitcoin. Markets have memory and they know, like, this thing can run. So okay, let's take a shot, right?
But if you take the Tesla chart, we actually have to be bullish for September, don't we? Because I don't see Tesla going to 400 plus if the whole market rolls over. So maybe it's September after all.
It's a way of hedging myself against myself by saying, seasonality is what it is, but there may be some outperformers just based on the technicals. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? But I agree, like this, but this still looks good. Still looks really, really good.
Another thing that looks really good is Chinese stocks. You mentioned it in the intro. KWeb as one of the big ETFs for Chinese exposure. It's trying to break out as well, has been consolidating or basing for years now. And if those bases breaks, we just saw it in gold. If those bases breaks to the upside or even to the downside, usually big moves follow.
Yeah, this thing has had all sorts of attempts at breaking higher. It had like pseudo inverted head and shoulders attempts over and over. It had another one here where it tried. And whatever this is, I don't even know. But the level is above 35. To me, it looks good enough. And if we look at CQQQ is another one, Chinese tech, same story. It's been a mess. It's been a slog for years, but it looks really good here. And if we just, on a relative value basis, compare that to the NASDAQ, it also looks to me like on a relative value basis, it's potentially go time. Might be a little early, but potentially go time relative to NASDAQ.
Definitely. And it also shows there's always an opportunity in the market. Even so, big tech or the US markets might roll over or at least consolidate for the next couple of weeks or months. You got Chinese stocks who have been basing for months and years now, and are probably that will be just a logical capital rotation, especially if you get some sort of economic deal between the US and China. I think then we have all the narratives to send all those stocks higher. Most people still hate China stocks, think they are uninvestable, and the price action is telling a different story, and it's really giving you a signal. There's an opportunity in China right now, at least for a trade short to midterm. We don't talk about holding those ETFs for years and years, but it's clear as day that there's a very good technical setup.
Yeah, especially at a time, like you said, where the leaders of the world are slowing down. So again, this is like you said, capital rotation 101. Where else can we go for a trade here? And these charts look really, really good.
Yeah.
I'm not even a China fan, okay, right?
Yeah.
But it has nothing to do with that. It just has to do with this chart looks good, period.
Definitely. So let's talk about Bitcoin. You think the cycle isn't over yet, but also you're not too optimistic, at least for the next couple of days or weeks. What's your current assessment of the Bitcoin cycle? I mean, if you look at the weekly and monthly chart, it's still a clear uptrend. We are making higher highs and higher lows, so nothing to worry about. But
yeah, if we go to the weekly this cycle, we're still above the weekly cloud. We're still above the TK lines. The deepest I don't want to go to 90, but based on the weekly, that's one level we could tap, just like we did in July 2024 and April 2025, and we'd still be bullish, right? That's just how much we've bounced since April. That's the weekly, and you can, again, the same thing with the daily time frame. The weekly breakout we had in December, January 2023, 2024. This is the stuff you always want to be paying attention on this indicator specifically, is where is this breaking out from the cloud? Those are huge levels most of the time. Going to the daily, this is what I use time frame, just on day-to-day decisions, not necessarily cycle, but unlike the GLD, I'll use the correct settings. I have separate settings for crypto versus legacy, but unlike the GLD chart where we're just cruising above the cloud, this is starting to droop into the cloud. So that is a warning sign that we're moving from a bullish trend to a neutral, softening, potentially bearish, but it's not bullish. So that's one reason to be very careful here on BTC. And this could be wrong, right? But it's saying, what do I know historically when I see this on anything, not just Bitcoin? It's be careful, because this could roll over in a big way.
What would make you bullish again? So I think you mentioned 118,000 as your key level. If Bitcoin gets over that in September, we are back on track. Because if you think about the 4-year cycle, so the 4-year cycle projects a top somewhere end of October, November timeframe. If we go down to 90K first, I don't think we have enough time to get up to 130, 140, 150. So that if we get a big drawdown now, the cycle is definitely different because maybe we extend the cycle into 2026. Obviously, that can always happen. But a drawdown to 90 first probably takes, we don't see. Do you think, or let me frame it differently. Do you think if we go down to 90, we see another all-time high this year, or does it take to at least Q1 2026?
I think it's going to be tough. I'm with you. It's going to be tough to recover at this point in the cycle because it's so late for the exact same reasons you're talking about. Everybody's thinking that. They're thinking, okay, like how much more do we realistically have, right? Time-wise. And so everybody's there, 100%. And if we start rolling over deep below the cloud here, that's concerning. If we start rolling over below the 20-week moving average, which is currently at 107, that's concerning.
Yep.
So we don't want to spend a lot of time below the 20-week. We don't want to spend a lot of time below the daily cloud. And that's well above 90. The other thing here, this drawdown indicator I have at the bottom, our drawdowns haven't been too deep this cycle, like 30%. Okay, for anything, generally that's pretty deep. But
Yep.
for cycles, it's been Bitcoin that hasn't been too deep. But that's something else to watch. Like, by that time it's too late. But if we start to experience a bigger drawdown than we've experienced the rest of the cycle, then I think that's pretty easy to call it and say, all right, it's going to be very hard to recover past a 30% drawdown, which would be about 88. We get to like 86, 87, and it's probably lights out. I think you start to get worried. Like I said in the open, come October, if we don't start to recover based on seasonality in October, then we're going to be in some trouble for sure.
Definitely. I mean, MicroStrategy doesn't look too good either, or that's probably an understatement. That actually MicroStrategy chart looks horrible in comparison to Bitcoin. I think there's still hope, at least as long as we are above like 1.8, 1.10. I think we still can recover from here. So it's not over yet, and that's what I told like my followers over the past couple of weeks. Hey, let's see if we get below 108, then we start to worry. As long as we are above it, there's still a chance we just move up from here. But Ethereum is a different story. Ethereum chart definitely looks, in comparison to Bitcoin, and it hurts as a Bitcoin maximalist, at least at heart. It hurts to say that, but it definitely looks better. And actually, Ethereum looks like a chart. I wouldn't buy it right now, obviously. Even so, I think we could have one move higher. But if we see a larger correction in Ethereum, it still has a very bullish market structure. So you would actually expect to be a very good buying opportunity if we see some form of larger correction in Ethereum.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree. It looks much better than BTC here, but it looked much worse than BTC for years and years and years, right?
Definitely.
So it's just the pendulum is swinging towards ETH.
Yeah.
We've got this guy on Hyperliquid selling 30,000 BTC, exchanging it for ETH. He's got a bunch more BTC potentially that he's going to be exchanging. We'll see. That's not helping us here. We've got Tom Lee saying he's buying based on the cloud. He's literally, he's retweeting these tweets about the cloud. So it's funny. Tom Lee's the BMNR digital asset treasury company. And he's pointing out certain levels based on the cloud. So they've been buying that pretty hard, I think, and that's helping here. It's just, I don't see the risk reward immediately to be an ETH. Like you said, it's run up a lot super quick. That doesn't mean it can't keep going. It's just, I think there's better trades to be had elsewhere. That's all. So,
any opinion on Tom Lee's company? Are you a buyer of, I think ticker is BMNR?
Yeah, for these, unfortunately, you have to go, at least for me, I have to go way down to like the 30-minute and see, okay, is there anything going on here worth doing? Again, because everybody's a cloud expert now. We're below the cloud here on the 30-minute. So if this is bullish, it should be pretty easy to get above. And so that hasn't happened since August 6th, and ETH has done reasonably well in that period of time, So I don't know. That's one way to look at it. We can also just look at this against ETH too and see, how does this look? Lately, not so good, So it's the same thing with MSTR and BTC.
Yep.
Don't be afraid to look at the relative value pairs. The story is the story, the person is the person, but ultimately, if you're a technical person, what does the technicals suggest here?
And definitely, and
I want to see the same thing I want to see anywhere else, which is a higher high, which we haven't seen, since August. So that's that, right? Like you can be bullish all you want, but this looks not great at the moment.
Definitely, and obviously it can change, but I mean, with your setup, it's pretty clear where you want to get involved, and as long as we are beneath the cloud, you're not interested in it. And MicroStrategy, compared to Bitcoin, doesn't look too good either.
Yeah, interestingly, it's bounced over the past couple of days. It's underperformed to the downside. It's still been down, but it's been down less than BTC has, which is giving it this move higher. It still has done nothing since October on a relative basis, and it doesn't exactly look like a resounding, something that I'd want to touch. It's just a giant range here.
But at least it did bounce where it's supposed to bounce, and there's hope. So there's hope for Bitcoin and also for MicroStrategy, even though I don't expect another all-time high for MicroStrategy in this cycle. For Bitcoin to make another all-time high, we definitely need MicroStrategy to stay above 350, in my opinion. Otherwise, I don't see any world where Bitcoin goes to 150 and MicroStrategy is sub 300. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, this chart, if we take off the pitchfork, it had a good setup. It was a multi-month pattern, a base potentially. It tried to break out and then just gave it all back. So, okay, we can have an idea and a hope and a dream, but reality is this on trend looks awful, So for BTC, it's 118. Anything above 118, I love. For MSTR, it would be like 380.
Yeah.
Ultimately 420.
Yeah. Definitely.
But here, why? Why?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I 100% agree. I hope we see at least a bounce here going into September. That probably would be a very good sign also for Bitcoin. But I don't think MicroStrategy is outperforming for the rest of the cycle.
Yeah, one last thing I'll say about MSTR. It's like if you're in these momentum plays, no matter what it is, do you really want to be trading 340 to 380? No, I don't. You really want to be trading 380 to 700 or 800, right? Like that's what that's about. It's not picking this perfect bottom level and like hoping, right? It's like, show me the momentum, show me the breakout, and I'm ready to go. But until then, it just doesn't really make sense to me.
100% agree. Before we wrap up here, one final setup. Any chart we didn't mention where you are super bullish on currently. Can be anything. Can be a commodity. Can be a uranium stock. Whatever it is. Can be a meme coin.
It's funny because we're talking about miners. We're talking about commodities a little bit. I think uranium miners looks really good here. URNM.
Yeah.
Is the ETF. This to me looks like a massive inverted head and shoulders. Uranium also looks good here. Are
you already in the trade or you're watching for an entry?
Did I buy this today? I don't think I bought this today, but I think it looks great.
Yeah.
I think it looks really, really good. URA is uranium ETF. This one has a little head and shoulders risk up here, but I think it still looks really good. It's got this, I hate this pattern. This is an expanding, broadening wedge. It's terrible to trade because you think it's the breakout and then it just gives it all back. And anyway, I still think this has room to run. I think it has a good story behind it with the AI data center stuff.
Yeah.
To just contrast with Coin has a similar like megaphone thing that just it's terrible to trade this from my experience.
Yep.
One other I'll just mention Roku. This chart is what is it like a I have one in my house. It's like a television.
Yeah.
It's like Netflix kind of right. This has had a base since 2022. It is an ascending triangle. It has a decent breakout potential.
Yeah.
It's also about to like 3/4 complete on the pattern. So that, it's paid its dues effectively on the pattern front. And one other one real quick. Let me just pull it up here. I'm trying to find it. Figs. How did I not mention Figs? Figs is another one. This is like the Rivian idea. This is a clothing company.
Yeah, I mean it looks like the Rivian chart basically. Just it already made the breakout.
Yeah. Peloton, Roku, K-Web, Tesla, Rigetti, GLD, added to that. REMX we talked about. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Peloton, again, a lot of these like COVID darling companies that have based, Peloton's a biking company. It's actually big in Germany, isn't it?
Not sure about that. I think during COVID it got some traction, but it mostly died down afterwards.
Okay.
But at least the chart is trying to recover. I just recently talked to somebody else about it. It looks pretty decent. I have no idea about the fundamentals currently, but looks like they're recovering. At least on
I only say it's big in Germany. I only say it's big in Germany because they have a lot of classes in German, in the German language. But
interesting. Didn't know about that.
Anyway, fundamentals are probably atrocious, right? Who knows? But the technicals here, it looks like it's trying to set up for an inverted head and shoulders here. So we'll see. But, so the message, the takeaway is there's lots of trades elsewhere that are not just BTC or the SPY or SMH. The last one I'll share is SMH. This scares me a lot because if this is remotely bearish, and again, there's a head and shoulders risk up here. If this breaks down, that means NVIDIA breaks down. That means S&P, the Qs, the world shuts down, right? Like it's not good if SMH breaks down from a sentiment perspective. So definitely want to keep an eye on.
We might get the answer later this week. I think a lot is gonna depend on NVIDIA earnings, and hopefully it's gonna invalidate the pattern you drew up there. And NVIDIA earnings keep crushing, keep going higher. Then we are bullish into September. Otherwise, I think if SMH breaks down, most likely all bets are off, and you have to be sidelined or shorting the markets for the next couple of weeks. I think, again, if such a leader doesn't perform, I don't see anything else doing really, really well, except maybe gold, obviously, and some of the commodities. That's a different story.
Yeah, that's not like a bearish call on SMH or NVIDIA. It's just like, I'm paying attention to this.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out for whatever reason, that's not a good sign.
And obviously, we have a clear level. As long as we stay above it, hey, we're still good.
Yeah.
And if we are
exactly
breaking down, well, we have to reassess. Josh, thank you very much for your time. Where should we send people? Where can people learn more about you? Obviously, you're doing a lot of YouTube videos. So about most of the charts we just looked at or we discussed in the past hour, you're mostly doing also in your live streams. So if people want to get updates, I think your YouTube channel is definitely the way to go. Link down in the show notes. Where else can people learn more about you?
Yeah, YouTube is great. Come say hi on the streams if the timing is right, or in the comment section. Let me know. I love looking at any chart, talking about anything. The second place would be Twitter at Carpe Noctem, and he'll put that in the show notes for me, I think, too. But
yeah,
that's Latin for seize the night, for those wondering.
Yeah. Perfect ending, Josh. Thank you for your time. We might do that again later this year. Depends on the Bitcoin cycle. I think if we go back to 90K, I definitely have to bring you on again. And if we go to 150K, we might do a cycle ending show. Josh, Thanks
Sure,
again.
that'd be great.
Take care.
Thank you. Take care.